Hey everyone, today's video recap will be one of the most trending and awaited horror film of 2022. It is Pearl. Psychological horror movie, Pearl, directed by T. West, co-composed by West and Mia Goth, who repeats her job as the title character, and highlighting David Corrine Sweat, Tondi Wright, Matthew Sunderland, and Emma Jenkins-Purro in supporting jobs. A prequel to X, 2022, and second portion in general in the X film series. It fills in as a history for the title antagonist whose intense desire to turn into a celebrity drove her to committing vicious follows up on her family's Texas residence in 1918. Pearl had its debut at the 79th Venice Worldwide Film Celebration on September 3, 2022, and was delivered in performance centers in the US on September 16, 2022. This was a brief introduction to film, and now let's begin to dive into the plot and enjoy watching. Likes and subscriptions are highly appreciated. It was the year 1918. Pearl lived with her German outsider guardians. Her better half, Howard, did battle, and she rehashes his letters to feel nearer to him. Pearl was a visionary. She longed for turning into a celebrity, and the stable was where she performed for her crowd, the livestock. However, Pearl had a chipper grin, her eyes needed compassion. She would kill creatures only for its delight and feed them to her pet croc, Thelda. Her mom, Ruth, realized that her little girl needed to be an artist and work in the motion pictures, however she disliked it. As a worker, she was unable to urge her girl to dream the unimaginable. Pearl sneaked inside the film corridor when her mom sent her to get her dad's medication around. She watched the showgirls perform and longed for being one of those young ladies sometime in the future. She met Johnny, the film projectionist, outside the corridor. He commended her and expressed that he one day would have liked to watch her on screen. Pearl was influenced by his words. Somebody other than herself had faith in her magnificence and ability. She began to contemplate whether she was denying herself the delights of life simply because of her folks. Coming back home, Pearl had intercourse to a scarecrow she tracked down in a cornfield. Culpability took over when she began to make out with it, compelling her to shout, "I'm hitched." Be that as it may, she was unable to assist herself and kept making with wanting to the article. Pearl was desolate. The shortfall of her better half and a solitude constrained her to get away from her existence. The conflict, combined with the Spanish influenza, impacted Pearl's childhood definitely. Bit by bit, Pearl began to appreciate tormenting her wheelchair-bound father. He was feeble and couldn't assent, like the creatures she killed for joy. She needed to take off from the ranch. However, she realized that she was unable to leave her folks. She needed to decide to either satisfy her fantasies or be the great little girl her mom maintained that her should be and deal with her folks and their homestead. Pearl escaped around evening time to meet Johnny. He showed her the last ride and examined the conceivable blast of the porno business. He urged her to venture out from home and follow her fantasies, however it wasn't so natural for Pearl. She would prefer to favor her folks kick the bucket than take off from them. It was whenever that Pearl first communicated how her life would be simpler if her folks passed on, an idea that would consume her eventually. Pearl thought about how much simpler her life would be without her folks. She even endeavored to drive her dad into the lake and feed him to Thelda, yet her mom meddled. Pearl loathed Howard for letting her be. She crushed a crocodile's egg, envisioning it to be the body of her significant other. She was presently alone, all as a result of him, and she needed to figure out how to escape from her home. At supper that evening, her mom showed her a film banner she tracked down in the house. She requested that Pearl rest in the fortification, expecting that she could have brought the illness home. Pearl expressed that she needed to participate in the tryout that should have been held the following day. Ruth didn't give her authorization for it. Pearl made sense of how she was curious as to whether she was sufficient to turn into a star. She had never acted before a crowd of people previously, and she had to understand others' opinion on her. Pearl is curious as to whether her life could be something other than caring for her folks. Ruth didn't see what Pearl was looking for. The way that they had a house and food to eat consistently was a gift in itself. She had some awareness of Pearl's privileged insights, maybe alluding to the creatures she killed, and she was terrified for her girl. Ruth accepted that some time or other individuals around Pearl would observe her savagery and dreads her. The way that her little girl was prepared to pass on her mom to satisfy her fantasies shocked Ruth. She realizes that Pearl was debilitated. Her vindictive eyes said a lot. Ruth held a blade close to her better half's throat. She proposed to kill him for Pearl since that was what she realized Pearl needed. Ruth also was languishing. She was separated from everyone else, dealing with her better half and endeavoring to get food on the table. In any case, she never wanted to kill her significant other for her destiny. That was the contrast among her and Pearl. Pearl dreaded turning into like her mom, abandoning her fantasies to deal with her significant other. Ruth slapped Pearl. She was unable to endure the affronts any longer. As the two battled, Ruth burst into flames from the oven and consumed. Pearl poured water on her, yet 50% of her body had currently consumed. She drove her mom into the basement and left to meet Johnny. Pearl had intercourse with Johnny that evening. She started off right on time to prepare for the tryout round. Johnny proposed to drop her off at home. Pearl requested that he stand by at the entryway while she tidied up the wreck at her home. She cleaned up her dad and locked the entryway of the basement. She welcomed Johnny to her room and kissed him, yet he felt jittery. He could hear a commotion and needed to find out where it was coming from. He saw the wreck during supper. Pearl contemplated that it was their canine who made the wreck. Despite the fact that Johnny had not seen a lot, he didn't have a good sense of reassurance. Pearl strolled him to the outbuilding and acquainted him with her creatures. The more Johnny found out about her, the more he could sort out that something was the matter with her. He requested her for the name from her canine, and Pearl expressed that they didn't have a canine. She had failed to remember the falsehood she had expressed some time back. Johnny realized it was the ideal opportunity for him to leave, yet Pearl was not prepared to relinquish him. Ruth had told her that one day individuals around her would be scared of her, and she could see that event directly before her eyes. As Johnny was leaving in his vehicle, she killed him with a pitchfork. In the wake of killing him, she washed her dad and choked out him to death. She got dressed, took care of Johnny to Thelda, and left for the tryout. Pearl and her sister by marriage, Mitzi, sat tight for their call at the tryout. Pearl was certain about her exhibition, though Mitzi was apprehensive. Pearl went into the room and conveyed the best execution she needed to date, as per her. Yet, the appointed authorities dismissed her, expressing that she didn't have the X component and that they were searching for somebody more youthful and blonde. Pearl shouted and cried. This was her main opportunity to satisfy her fantasies, and now that it was finished, she didn't have the foggiest idea how to adapt to it. Mitzi went with her back home. She trusted in Mitzi that she accepted something was genuinely amiss with her. Mitzi encouraged her to impart her feelings of trepidation to Howard since he was her significant other and would grasp her regardless of anything. She requested that Pearl practice with her what she would agree to Howard. Pearl spilled her guts. She examined her most closely guarded secrets. She communicated the amount she despised Howard for leaving her. Pearl admitted that she had laid down with another man. She expressed that she felt envious of that large number of whose lives were simple. She saw Howard when he came to the ranch to work. She realized he was different on the grounds that he came from honor. Pearl realized Howard was her method for escaping the homestead, and she claimed to be the lady he was searching for. Be that as it may, rather than removing her, he needed to inhabit Pearl's folks' place. She got pregnant with his kid, however she never needed to be a mother. She was unable to acknowledge a living being developing inside her. The idea spurned her. Pearl was blissful when she figured out that she had experienced an unsuccessful labor. She basically needed to be in the photos. The ladies on screen had wonderful lives, and they were loved by every individual who watched them. She needed to be adored and wanted by everybody, except she realized she coming up short on ability should have been on screen. She was frail, very much like her mom said. From the get-go, she delighted in killing the people who were frail and vulnerable, yet later she saw as really significance in killing her mom and Johnny. By killing them, she showed them a thing or two. She showed them what it seemed like to endure. At that point, she held all the power on the planet. Yet, she lamented killing her dad since he never hurt her. Mitzi was too staggered to even think about talking. She got up from the table and expressed that she needed to leave since her mom would be sitting tight for her. As Mitzi was going to leave, Pearl expressed that she realized Mitzi had been chosen for the show. Despite the fact that Mitzi dreaded to affirm it, knowing how hazardous Pearl was, she at last consented to it. As she was leaving, Pearl followed her with a hatchet. Mitzi made tracks at the end of the day, surrendered to Pearl's brutality. Pearl presently needed to fix the errors she had made and prepare the house to invite Howard. She hacked Mitzi's body and taken care of it to Thelda. She got her folks spruced up, and they were prepared for supper. She has now acknowledged her destiny. Not entirely set in stone to take full advantage of what she had, similarly as her mom had prompted her. She brightened the worm-swarmed pig that her mother by marriage had once brought. She found a seat during supper with her dead guardians. Howard got back and seen the shocking situation. Pearl, holding a container of lemonade, grinned and said, "I am so blissful you're home." Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the film. My major motivation is your support, so please don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to my channel for more videos and updates.